He said, pray as you see me pray. Utter these words that you hear me say. Based on the Sunnah, worship Him, just follow Him.
Assalamu alaikum. New class coming to you every Monday and Wednesday, taught by Ustad Layla Nashiba, the Faith of Prayer. Every Monday and Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Inshallah, we'll see you there. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
Okay, Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our series on how to perform the prayer. And tonight, inshallah, I'm going to answer two questions. I'm going to give you the answer for two questions that many Muslims ask about regarding the prayer. The first question is, what is the prostration of thankfulness? And then the second question that many new Muslims ask is, what do you do if you forget something during the prayer? So tonight we're going to discuss the prostrations of forgetfulness, and also the prostration of thankfulness. So with that said, let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen, and give me a second here. Oh, yeah, PowerPoint. I'm sorry. I got to remember I'm doing these two different computers. This one has that. Hold on here and move this out the way. At least Zoom made it so I can move that thing out the way. But now I got to come up in here. Okay, so inshallah, what happened? Okay, good. So we're going to discuss the prostration of thankfulness and also the prostrations of forgiveness during the prayer. And I believe I started off with thankfulness. Let's take a look at it. Put this out the way. Oh, let me make my screen larger because the print is so small. I can't see it unless I go to the Zoom. Okay, when we talk about the prostration of thankfulness, I want you guys to know that it is not an obligation. I repeat, the prostration of thankfulness is not an obligation. That means if you don't prostrate, Allah is not going to punish you, nor is He going to hold you accountable. Okay, but it's something that we are encouraged to do. Why? Because remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that the most humble position that any human can take before Allah is to prostrate. And he encouraged us that whenever we receive something good, or good news happens to us, or anything good period happens, that we should take a prostrate to show our gratitude towards Allah. And that way, Allah will continue to send good things our way. We have this hadith where Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, Ali wrote to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, telling him that Hamazan had converted to Islam. And when the Prophet heard that when they read the letter to the Prophet, he prostrated. He went down to the ground and prostrated. And when he raised his head, he said, Alhamdulillah. He said, peace be upon Hamazan. Peace be upon Hamazan. Okay, so again, and this is Sahih Bukhari. That's how you know it's authentic. Also, Ibn Auf tells us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out one time, and Ibn Auf followed him until he reached a grove of palm trees. And then the Prophet just prostrated, like this little boy is doing in this picture. He just prostrated. And he stayed in that position for so long that Ibn Auf thought that maybe he had died. So Ibn Auf went to him, and when he arrived next to him, the prophet raised his head and asked him what was wrong, because he could tell from the look on Ibn Auf's face that he was, worried. And Ibn Auf told him, "You prostrated, and I didn't know if you were dead or alive or what." And that's when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the angel Jibril alaihi salam had come to me and told me some good news. He told me that Allah said, whoever makes dua for me, I will pray upon, Allah will pray, make dua for that, will pray upon that person. And whoever greets me, Allah will greet that person. So after Jibril had told me this good news, I prostrated to thank Allah. And this hadith is authentic. It's Bukhari and Muslim. So we learn from these hadiths that whenever we receive any good news or blessings, that it's good to prostrate to thank Allah. And what do you do when you prostrate? You simply just say, "Oh Allah, thank you for this blessing." And again, I want to emphasize that you don't have to be in a state of purity. We talked about that the other day. You don't have to be in a state of purity. And by the way, I held off on giving you guys the quiz. The reason why is because I decided that I'm going to quiz you on all three of these prostrations the next time we meet. I'd rather hold the quiz off until I do these two as well, and then I'll quiz you on all three. So you don't have to be in a state of purification. Again, a woman doesn't have to have wudu. You can prostrate when you're on your menses. Anyone that tells you that you can't, tell them to bring the dalil. Okay? You don't have to have purified clothing or any of that either. Again, as one of the early scholars said, Ash-Shawkani, he said there is nothing in the authentic hadith to prove that having wudu and being pure, of clothing and places are required to prostrate. Okay? And also these hadiths are silent about any takbir too. There's nothing here that mentions anything about saying takbir or Allahu Akbar when you prostrate. You just simply go down to the ground like this little boy is doing here and prostrate and thank Allah. Okay? So that's the prostration of thankfulness. And again, you do it whenever you receive good news. Say, for example, you go to the doctor. The doctor tell you that you're pregnant, mashallah, then you can prostrate and say, and when you prostrate, you thank Allah for this good news. Say, for example, you get a promotion at your job, you can prostrate and just thank Allah for this promotion. Say, for example, I get good news. I say that, I get my rent's paid by somebody. I can prostrate, and thank Allah. You don't have to make wudu or any of that. No certain special supplications. You just say, thank you, Allah, for whatever the good news was. Everybody understand? Any questions on that? Because that's all there is. The religion is simple. Islam is easy. That's all there is to that. Okay, so now I want to speak about the prostrations of forgetfulness. Now, these prostrations are performed whenever you forget something during the prayer. And let's talk about this. And let me once again put up my Zoom so I can read it. I want you guys to know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a human being. He was not an angel. He was not made out of light, like the Sufis say. He was a human being. He was a man. And being that he was a man, he sometimes forgot because that's part of the nature of the human being. In fact, the prophet used to sometimes forget during the prayer too. And that's why the prophet said, I am a human being and I forget just like you forget. If I forget something, remind me. And there are specific points concerning the prostration of forgetfulness during the prayer. And I'm going to go over them. First of all, how do we perform these prostrations? Well, the prostration of forgetfulness, these are two prostrations. Now, when you want to thank Allah, when you prostrate to thank Allah, you just do one prostration. But for the prostration of forgetfulness, they are two prostrations that you make either before the taslim or after the taslim, depending on the situation, as I'm going to go over. We have this authentic hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if one of you has some doubts during your prayer and you can't remember how many rakats you perform, you don't know if you prayed 3 or 4, then you can put an end to your doubt by simply performing the prayer according to what you think you prayed. And then before you give taslim, make 2 prostrations of sujood. So you're going to do 2 prostrations before you salam out of the prayer. So let's say I don't know, Latifa, let's say I don't know if I did 2 rakats or 3 rakats or 4. I'm going to guess and say, well, I guess I did 3. I'm going to finish my prayer. And then when I'm sitting, before I say assalamu alaikum, after I recite the tashahhud, I'm going to do 2 prostrations. I'm going to go Allahu Akbar and come back up, and Allahu Akbar and come back up, and then give salams. Does everybody understand that? Now, if I think I did more rakats, if I think I did more rakats than I was supposed to, then I would do the prostrations after the salam. And that's the difference there. If I didn't think I did too much, I'm going to prostrate before I give salams. If I think I did too many rakats, I'm going to give salams first and then do the 2 prostrations. So that's how they're done. And when do we perform them? Well, if a person, if you can't remember how many rakats you made, or if you think you made too many rakats. And here's the hadith on that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed either the Dhuhr or the Asr prayer, and he only did 2 rakats, and then he salamed out. When he got up, the people went to him and asked him, they said, was the prayer shortened? And he said, no. And he said, what, did I forget? They said, yes, you only did 2 rakats. So then what the Prophet did is he went back and led the people in 2 more rakats to make it 4. And then he made taslim. Everybody understand that? So that's another time that you do these prostrations. If you think you did too much, or you think you did too many, or let's say after you were done praying, you realize that you only did 2 rakats instead of 4. Then you go back and make the 2 rakats that you omitted and then do the prostrations. Y'all understand that? Because remember, each prayer has a certain number of rakats. If you pray 2 and then somebody tells you, hey, you only did 2, and you thought you did 4, then you go back, give Allahu Akbar, perform those 2 rakats. Then after the second rakat, when you recite the tashahhud, Before you taslim out, you do 2 prostrations of sujood and then do the taslim out. I hope that's clear. Okay, and that's related by Bukhari and Muslim. And then we have another hadith where the same thing happened too with another one of the companions, Az-Zubair. Az-Zubair, he was praying Maghrib. Instead of doing 3 rakats, he did 2. And then when he was done, somebody told him, you only did 2. So he went back, performed that last rakat, and then before he salamed out, he did 2 prostrations to make up for that. And I hope that's clear. So that's the 3rd instance in which we do that. Also, say for example, you add something to the prayer. And I just went over that. You prayed more rakats than required. The taslim is after. Okay? What else I have here? Say you forgot something. Let's say, for example, you forgot one of the pillars of the salat. Say, for example, you forgot one of the pillars. If you forgot a pillar, what do? You have to pray the whole prayer over, because a pillar means that the prayer is not accepted. But let's say that you forgot a sunnah. For example, the first tashahhud. The first tashahhud is a sunan. We have this hadith here, whereas the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you stand after 2 rakats and you have not completely stood, then you should sit. And if you're already completely standing, you should not sit and then make the 2 prostrations of forgetfulness. So again, say, for example, you were praying and right during the prayer, you forgot to say the first tashahhud. Then right before you end your prayer, you would do 2 prostrations of forgetfulness before giving the salam. Okay? And these are all the hadiths proving that. You guys can take screenshots of this page. These are all the authentic hadiths on that. Okay? So now, to make it simple, because I know this can be confusing, I want y'all to pay attention. Write it down. The prostration of forgetfulness. If you perform more rakats than needed, you give the salams first and then do 2 prostrations afterwards. If you did not perform enough rakats, you do the 2 prostrations first and then give the salam. If you're making salat and you realize, for example, you forgot to recite the tashahhud, the first tashahhud, you would do the 2 prostrations before you give the salam then too. But if you forget a pillar of the prayer, such as the second tashahhud, you have to perform that whole prayer over. Is that clear? Now questions. Let's hear it, because I know this can be confusing. Any questions?
Yeah, just to be clear, if there's not enough, if you didn't think, or if you didn't pray enough rakats, you just do the 2 and then taslim, and then you make up that rakat after?
No. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. My allergies are messed up. Okay. The only time that you would go and do that rakat that you missed is after the prayer's over. If you catch it before, If you don't, first of all, if you realize, say I'm making Isha, and I'm sitting there and I realize, wow, I didn't do another rakat. So I would get up and do that rakat because I remembered it. But let's say, for example, I'm praying Isha and I don't know. I said, oh, did I do 3 or did I do 4 or what? Then I would do the 2 prostrations before I salam out. If you know that you missed a rakat, you make it. Get up and make that rakat before you give salams. Do you understand?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Remember, forgetfulness is I don't remember. But let's say you prayed, you were leading your sister in prayer. Y'all making my grib. You only prayed 2 rakats, and then you thought that was 3. After the prayer's over, y'all walk away, and your sister say, we only did 2 rakats. In that case, you have to go and make 1 other rakat, and then give salams. Because you walked away from the prayer. The prayer is over. You guys understand that? You don't have to pray the whole prayer over. Just do the rakat that you didn't do.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because you walked away. The prayer's closed. Once you give salams, you close the prayer. Yeah. Is that clear to everybody? And I know this can be confused. It took me a long time. When I was a kid growing up, it took me a long time to understand those prostrations because I used to get confused all the time. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think I got it, inshallah. But I didn't know about the going back. I've just been doing the whole prayer all over because I just couldn't remember what I was doing.
No, you never do. If you catch yourself, do you catch yourself while you're praying, Latifah?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's while you're praying, you don't have to do nothing over. You just do, if you think you just guess. If you think you did less rakats than you were supposed to, then you do the 2 prostrations before you say assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. If you think you did more rakats than you supposed to, then after you give salams, then you do the 2 prostrations.
Okay.
You got it? More, do 2 to take away. Less, do 2 to make up. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think I got it.
It happens to all of us.
I was halfway right.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. We go through that. But I want y'all to remember, if it's a pillar, like say you forgot the Fatiha. Now that's different. You got to make that prayer all over again.
Right.
That's why it's important. Remember what the pillars of the prayer are. That Fatiha, the 2nd Tashahhud. Remember what those pillars are. The bowing. You realize you didn't bow. Or you didn't prostrate in a rakat. Those are the pillars. You have to pray it over.
So then, okay, so say you just don't remember if you bow. So do you still
Is that during the prayer?
Yeah.
Then you still do the 2 prostrations up before you give salams.
Okay.
Yeah, if say, for example, you don't remember, you really don't remember if you bowed or not. You caught it before the prayer's over, so that's when you would do the 2 prostrations.
Okay.
Yeah. They make up for anything you forget like that. But once you walk away, that's something different.
Because I know I couldn't remember if I said the Tashahhud in the 2nd rakat of my grib. And then I said, well, I do it in the 3rd. And I thought, oh, I might be innovating. Then I said, so I just scrapped it and just did the whole prayer all over.
No, now the first Tashahhud is not a pillar. So even if you didn't recite it, your prayer was accepted. It's the 2nd Tashahhud.
But in my grib, though, is it different in my grib?
Same way. So even though that the 2nd rakat is the 1st Tashahhud, that's not a pillar of the prayer. That's a sunnah.
Okay.
So even if you don't say it, you forget it, you don't have to do nothing over, because that's not a pillar. But you can do the 2 prostrations of sujood if you want.
Okay.
But you don't have to perform it over.
Because I was confused with that with my grip just being 3 rakats.
No, it's the same.
I was thinking that
only Fajr, because Fajr is only 2. If you don't say no tashahhud at all, then that's different. Yeah. But Maghrib, the first tashahhud is a sunan. The second tashahhud is the pillar.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we have Dr. McBride tomorrow, and he's going to continue speaking about the brain. Yes, y'all like that series? Let me tell y'all, he gets more hits than anybody. When I put the shorts up, his shorts gets more reviews than anybody's. Yeah, make sure you guys go to the YouTube channel and look at the shorts that I put up. Click on the tab that says shorts. I put some nice little shorts up today of my own lectures. Yeah. Yeah, but Dr. McBride will be tomorrow at 9. And don't forget, guys, let's see, when is that? Let me look and see. On the 4th. That's Saturday? Oh, okay, that's Saturday. Yeah, that's not now. Yeah. Brother Youssef will be back. Yeah, he'll be back to the website after the 4th. Yeah.
Now, what did he do?
He's doing the history of Palestine.
Of what?
Of Palestine. He was talking
about.
Remember, he did the World War I and II and all that, and how the Zionism began. He's going to continue with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people were asking about his classes because that's a good history of the history of Zionism. Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to log out.
I have a question,
yeah, go ahead.
So say, for instance, you're in a group and they praying and you realize that they said too many. You realize that, but you're in a group that's praying and then they did the prostration too, and you know you're supposed to do the one after that taslim out. What do you do then? Do you just do it yourself, or just because you was in a group,
you can do it yourself?
Leading?
You can do it yourself. Yeah, you saying if they don't know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Just do it yourself. Yeah. Yeah, you can do it yourself. Okay.
So where does the clapping come in later? When someone's making a mistake?
Yeah, that's when the imam is leading. And the imam makes a mistake. The women clap and the men say, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too. I'm going to talk about how to correct the imam. I'm going to go over all that stuff too for you brothers. Okay, guys. And by the way, y'all see my short that I put out. For those of you who belong to these mosques, where the women and men are praying with each other, next to each other. And they lying, telling y'all that there ain't no barrier. The prophet did have a barrier. The barrier between the women and the men are the young boys. The prophet put the young boys between the women and the men. So anybody that's telling y'all, because they got a fatwa that this so-called Islamic Fiqh Council of America put out, saying that women and men can pray in the mosque without a barrier. Yeah, I wouldn't go to those mosques because that's not true. The Prophet Muhammad put the young boys between the women and men. He never had the women praying behind the men head to butt. Are you crazy? Yeah. It's another reason why Allah got this war here. Them brothers in Texas. It's always Texas. All right, guys, I'm going to log out. Inshallah, I'll see everybody back here tomorrow. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.